10. The Water Palace. One of the most unbelievable sights in all of India is a gorgeous palace called Jal Mahal. It's a water palace with an amazing castle that seems to float in the middle of Sagar Lake, as if taken straight from Shangri-La. The palace has high sand-colored stone walls which reflect beautifully from the deep blue lake waters. Plus, there is a lovely garden sprouting out from the top of the palace, making it look truly unique. It is one of the most photographed places in the country and almost looks like it shouldn't even exist. It's straight out of a fairy tale. The amazing thing is how the solid stone walls are able to hold back the millions of liters of water trying to get in. The palace was designed using special lime mortar that had prevented a single water leak for the past 250 years. But when was this amazing place built? The water palace was constructed hundreds of years ago, back in 1750, which actually isn't that long ago. It was made by Maharaja Madho Singh I as a private retreat for himself and his gang of duck hunting friends. The palace was improved significantly in the 18th century and then later abandoned, turned into a miserable ruin, and revamped and restored recently by the Indian government about 10 years ago. 9. Reed Flute Cave. Reed Flute Cave looks like a magical cavern from a princess storybook, but it's a very real place. It's located in a small suburb in China, just a few miles from the Guilin city center. The cave is about 787 feet deep and goes on for nearly 2,000 feet. It's filled with incredible stalagmites, stalactites, tall stone pillars, and beautiful stone walls. It's been forming for the past 180 million years. Today, it's known to the locals as the Palace of Natural Art. But what makes this cave so spectacular? It's because of how radiantly gorgeous it is inside. Upon entering the cave, the first thing visitors notice is just how bright it is. All the rock walls are shining with rainbow colors. Instead of being a dreary dark cave, it's a rainbow wonderland. There's an underground lake flowing through the cave that sends dazzling reflections sparkling across the ceiling and walls, making the natural beauty that much more dynamic. When you step out of the cave, you'll find reeds growing and thriving outside the mysterious cave, which can be used to make flutes. That's actually how the cave was named. Close your eyes and imagine yourself standing in the midst of the reeds, breathing the fresh air and catching the soothing music of the flute. Outside the cave, it's a perfect, tranquil place where China's Thoreau may live. Amazingly, the cave was only discovered in the 1940s by Japanese troops fleeing the war. They stumbled in by total accident. The government opened it up as a tourist destination and installed the lights themselves. Unfortunately, the rainbow colors aren't actually natural, but how cool would that be? 8. The Bone Church. In the country of Czech, there is a Gothic church unlike any other on the planet. It's near the small city of Kutna Hora and looks like something taken from some kind of German bedtime story. It's called the Bone Church, and it's constructed from the bones of about 30,000 people who died from the plague. Okay, it just went from cool and interesting to creepy real quick. This is one of the weirdest places on Earth, and definitely a must-see for the morbidly inclined. According to National Geographic, a local abbot brought sacred soil all the way from Jerusalem in the 13th century back to this church and spread it in the cemetery. Word got out to the public, and suddenly everyone wanted to be buried here. But shortly after, when the plague descended on Europe, people began dying in droves. 30,000 people died from the plague and were added to plots here. And then the Crusades added another 10,000 corpses. Literally, bodies on bodies on bodies. There weren't enough plots to bury the dead. And in the 15th century, many of the bones began being moved into the church and shaped into decorations. A local woodcarver crafted an unforgettable interior of bleached human bone. Today, the church is still standing. It looks like the evil lair of some cannibal king. Would you like to visit a church made of bones? Do you think it's scary or beautiful? Let us know in the comment section down below. And if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. 7. Door to Hell. As hard as it is to believe, there is a door to hell located in the wastelands of Turkmenistan. Yes, the opening to the underworld exists, and it's in Asia. Deep in the brutally hot and terribly dry Karakum Desert, close to the tiny town of Darvaza, there is a hole in the ground about 230 feet wide. The hole has been on fire for the last 5 decades. It's technically a gas crater, though it looks more like the gates to hell. The fiery glow constantly coming out of the hole can be seen for miles in the distance. But just how did such a terrifying hole of burning fire come to exist in such a remote place? The creation of the hole goes back to the year 1971. A Soviet drilling company was looking for oil when they accidentally punched a hole into an underground gas cavern. The ground beneath their feet collapsed, the drilling rig fell into the hole, and poisonous fumes squirted out into the air. To stop an environmental catastrophe, the Soviets thought it would be best to light the gas on fire. They thought the gas would run out and the fire would eventually just stop burning in just a couple of weeks. But 50 years later, the flames are still present, and some are convinced the Soviets punched a hole into hell. Will the fire ever go out? It's a hot debate. 6. Ancient Mountain City. There is an ancient city on top of a mountain in the country of Sri Lanka that looks like something out of a fantasy novel. The ruined city is called Sigiriya, and it has some unique features not found anywhere else on the planet. It includes a moat, tall wall fortifications, landscape gardens, and a mysterious monastery. The truly fascinating thing about the city, though, is that it's sitting about 800 feet in the sky, on top of a granite rock. The only way to the top of the mountain city is up an extremely precarious staircase, and it is definitely not an easy journey. It doesn't help that the mountain is also full of spiders, because why wouldn't it be? The city itself was built for King Kasyapa around 477 AD. It was meant to be an impregnable fortress where the king could hide out from his enemies. However, it turned out that having a fortress on top of a mountain was a bad idea, because it could be easily sieged. Who knew? The king died when his half-brother showed up to steal the crown, and the mountain city was abandoned. It wasn't discovered again until colonial archaeologists stumbled upon it in the 1800s. It is now a tourist destination you can visit today, but you'll have to climb those stairs. 5. Fingals Cave. There is no place on Earth quite like Fingals Cave in Scotland. It's a unique structure, a sea cave formed entirely from hexagonal basalt columns. These are the same columns which form the Giant's Causeway. They are unique to Scotland and considered to be one of the true wonders of the natural world. Fingals Cave doesn't look like it should even exist. Upon entering the cave, whether by the crude walkway of hexagon rock columns or by sea, you immediately enter what almost feels like the underworld. It's creepy. The columns are so strange that they blow people's minds, and the way it was formed is just as interesting. While Fingals Cave may look built by hand, it was actually created roughly 60 million years ago by volcanic eruptions. The lava hardened, then cooled and shrank and cracked. The cycle of life is a beautiful thing. The cracks were at angles of 120 degrees, creating the hexagons you see today. The origin of the name, Fingals Cave, is wrapped in a curious myth. Once upon a time, Finn MacCumhail or Fingal was possibly an Irish general who had a group of extremely faithful warriors, comparable to King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Fingal is supposed to have been the father of Ossian, traditional bard of the Gaels. Gaels migrated into Scotland from Ireland until the Norsemen began their raids on the Scottish coast, and the stories of Fingal would doubtless have come across too. Soon he became very well known in Scotland and praised by the Ossianic heroic songs and verses. His name was a natural choice to assign to this dramatic and awe-inspiring cavern. 4. The Alexandria Catacombs. Out of all the tombs in Egypt, the Alexandria Catacombs are hands down the most insane. These catacombs don't look like any other necropolis in the world and are reminiscent of something out of Lord of the Rings. Journeying into these catacombs is like stepping into another world. You half expect zombie Draugr to rise from their tombs and try to eat you. Alexander the Great originally established the city of Alexandria. He was one of the most famous Greek kings and army leaders and one of the greatest conquerors in history. These are the catacombs of Kom el Shukafa, one of the largest burial sites in all of Egypt. It dates back to the times of Greco-Roman Egypt, only discovered in the 20th century, completely by accident, when a donkey fell through the hidden entrance. The way into the catacombs is a little treacherous. You have to go down a winding staircase that descends 115 feet into the ground. Inside the catacombs is a mixture of ancient architecture, including decorative art and a variety of elements that are Roman, Hellenistic, Egyptian, and Pharaonic. The tomb was built in the 2nd century AD. It has 3 separate levels filled with creepy catacomb tombs, and part of it is even submerged underwater. 3. Hang Sundung. Hang Sundung is the largest cave in the world. It's mysterious and unbelievable. The cave is located deep in the jungle of central Vietnam. Amazingly, it was only discovered a few years ago when a local farmer needed shelter from a passing storm. He discovered the entrance of the cave and went inside. He was then shocked to uncover a forgotten landscape, probably last seen by the dinosaurs. The ceiling is over 300 feet high. The cave itself is filled with bizarre bird and monkey species, and even today, there have been more visitors to the peak of Mount Everest than inside the cave. It's such a unique ecosystem and so unbothered by humans that to let people inside would be its doom. The Hang Sundung cave is literally a world of its own. It has clouds inside of it, underground rivers and streams, unique fauna and animals, and its very own atmosphere. It's barely even been explored, seeing as the first scientists only made their way into the cave back in 2010. The entrance alone is big enough to house an entire city block. Imagine the magic the farmer must have felt when he discovered it. 2. The Medicine Hat Geoglyph. In Canada, just 40 miles from the small city of Medicine Hat, there is a place known as the Indian Hat Geoglyph, or the Badlands Guardian. At first, it doesn't seem like a real thing. The pictures look like they've been edited or somehow manipulated to create the face of a Native American in the low hills. But the geoglyph is very real. A lot like the strange geoglyphs in Peru, the Nazca lines. It can only be seen from the air. There are also probably more of them at one point, but they have been destroyed by the weather. According to a research paper commissioned by the Earth's International Research Society, the mysterious site is related to an early Mesoamerican culture that thrived in Canada between 900 BC and 1500 AD. Up until recently, nobody thought such a thing could exist, as there's nothing else like it in all of Canada. We still don't know which culture carved the face into the ground, or why they would, or who they thought would see it. It's also a pretty new discovery, only spotted in 2005 thanks to Google Earth. 1. Crystal Cave. In Mexico, there is a cave of crystals about 900 feet underground that happens to be one of the most dangerous caves in the world. This place is surreal. It's located near Nika and first discovered by miners in the year 2000 looking for fresh ore deposits. The cave is filled with milky white crystals, some of which are up to 3 feet wide and over 36 feet long, or bigger than telephone poles. These are beams of pure gypsum, and the cave itself looks like part of some weird underground treasure cavern. The deposits formed because of magma-heated waters, which cooled over thousands of years and allowed the gypsum to grow in an environment of pure calcium and sulfate. As for why the cave is so dangerous, it's actually a very harsh environment. The conditions inside the cave are too brutal for a human. The humidity level is over 90%, and the air temperature is over 122 degrees Fahrenheit. In this environment, a person will sweat themselves dry, then shrivel up and die in under 20 minutes. Thanks for watching. Which of these unbelievable places would you love to visit? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And don't forget to comment and subscribe for more awesome videos. See you next time. Bye.